Anand as a member of the senior leadership team in Frost & Sullivan, and of course, as a connected work expert. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the consumer of the future.
Thank you much, Anu, and thanks to Sam for bringing us in all together. And it has been a very phenomenal session this far. So I'll try to bring the consultants part of what we are seeing. I'll share screen quickly. So the part related to connected health and the consumer point of view. So I'd like to kind of figure out how innovations are actually getting into the next step. So let me just quickly give a brief about what's happening related to how we are actually generating a lot of new ideas. And whatever that we are discussing today are all great ideas resulting on some challenges that we have come across. So this is the innovation generator, as we call it, and it has got 6 concentric circles, and technology perspective plays a very, very important role in it. What you see on the outermost part is the trends. Because of the trend that we are seeing, we are able to come up with newer business models. And the trends that you see here are all innovating to zero, future of energy, health, wellness, and well-being, economic transformation, and other things. A lot of changes related to these trends. We're all talking about COVID and how the trends related to COVID are shaping up into newer business models. So we see the evolution of newer business models, like everything as a service. Anu just mentioned about service being a very important pillar. Everything as a service, product as a service, data as a service. These are the different types of business models that are evolving. As a result, a lot of technological changes are happening. These technological changes that you see on the third inner circle here are the ones that actually come up and develop and design protocols and solutions associated with it. Associated with this is the convergence that Shafi just mentioned about how industries are coming together, whether it's the healthcare industry, the ICT industry, the energy industry. All of these industries are coming together and the whole ecosystem is exploding into different innovations that comes from customers that we expect. And that has a presence across different geographies. So in a whole, if you take up one particular concept of remote patient monitoring, right? If you look up at this, what is innovating to zero as a concept? We want zero fatalities. We want zero breach in security. We just don't want our data to be available easily. There should be complete privacy associated with it. So for which we are beginning to gather a lot of data. So data as a service is happening, and that is also ensuring a lot of security technologies that are enabling to protect this particular data. And healthcare as an industry with all the connected devices is the game changer and enabler of this. So we are seeing these models that are getting created. But what's more fascinating to all of us is what are the technologies that are actually going to come in the next 12 to 24 months. And that's where I'd like to draw your attention on a host of technologies. And this is a prediction that we've been doing for almost 10 years now. Technologies are not restricted to what we perceive as only digital space, but it comes across all of the technology clusters that you see here, whether it's hydrogen-based technologies, if we are going to move into a hydrogen-based economy, or it's going to be talking about storage-based technologies like advanced ion lithium batteries, free from ingredients. So there are a host of technologies that are coming out here. Of specific interest, of course, is all related to this particular session, comes under health and wellness and medical devices and imaging technology. So you see a lot of development that's likely to happen in advanced antibodies, microbiome therapeutics, sustainable biomanufacturing, synthetic food, and transformative vaccines. That said, development in the medical devices space, of course, we're all talking about digital biomarkers, intelligent imaging analysis, precision drug delivery, because somebody mentioned about going the consumer way to look up at what particular challenge they have and how to address it. So we're all going into this particular precision drug delivery system. So a lot of development are happening associated with it. There are 2 things associated with this. One is these technologies offer a lot of hope if you're invested in this. 2 is there is a potential probability of convergence that if these technologies begin to talk to each other, you would get a serendipitous solution that we have not thought about. So specifically, let me just pick up a couple of technologies out here. So we're all speaking about intelligent imaging analysis, right? So today there are two challenges that typically we face. One is there are a lot of images that are already available, and these images needs to be processed. So we have limited number of radiologists that can actually assess this. That's where technology comes into play. So we would be seeing deep learning, cognitive computing, some of our delegates that are already speaking, predictive analytics coming into play to address this particular issue of trying to understand what these images are. And the opportunity that it offers to industry is, to the healthcare industry, is that it helps prioritize cases, it improves the image acquisition, and it reduces the error, thereby providing value. So you can see a lot of development that's happening already related to COVID. Many of you might have heard about this company called Cure.ai. They've developed this software called QXR that actually uses AI-based platform to quickly detect COVID infection. And like that, we have, of course, a lot of development that's happening associated with different imaging techniques and technologies that are being leveraged to determine the diagnosis related to prostate, breast cancer, lung imaging, as well as neurological imaging. So this is on intelligent imaging. And the next one, of course, is on digital biomarkers. Again, these are quantifiable data, and today everybody wears a Fitbit, they wear different other electronic gadgets. So there is a constant beat of information for us to capture. That's where factors driving disruptions associated with this in biomarkers is also gaining a lot of momentum. So where is this all actually taking up from a consumer standpoint of view? Are consumers going to become consumers, or patients slowly going to become consumers? So the sphere of innovation is across all of this in terms of focus, partnership, information exchange, decision-making, and objectives. From being in the traditional healthcare paradigm, where we look up at one size fits all, unidirection, centralized and hospital-based, to emerging trends related to patient-centric, collaborative, consultative approach, personalized treatment, right? That's where precision and other things come into play. And instead of treating a disease, we are trying to see if we could prevent this particular, any disease for that matter. That said, what's happening within the India ecosystem? Of course, COVID has been a big lesson. Globally, we've been hearing that everybody has changed the way they think. We've seen some legislations also getting actually approved by the government. So we see a lot of things that are related to it, and telemedicine is there quite a bit to play a big role related to this particular space. And the government is also heavily investing in ensuring that this particular technology is leveraged. And we saw Dr. Devi Shetty already explaining about how somebody from a remote district was able to leverage this and get this done. So I feel that emerging technologies that connects us and digital paves the way for quicker solutions. With that, I'd like to quickly pause and then go ahead with the next sessions or questions that you might have. Thank you.
What, as someone with extensive experience, what do you think is the consumer of the future going to be?
So the consumer, so it's very common, right? Consumers are generally concerned about the generic data, right? Consumer data such as health parameters or other kinds of personally identifiable information are all extremely useful from a tech standpoint of view. However, some recent consumer databases so the stakes are, of course, extremely high for connected health medical devices companies to protect millions of sensitive data. So if we have a regulation like in the US, you have HIPAA, in Europe, you have the GDPR that covers both personal and sensitive information. In India, the government is working on a draft DISHA, which is Digital Information Security in Healthcare, that protects the privacy. So if we are able to take care of protecting the privacy of the consumers, I think more and more people will enable and will like to get themselves profiled and have their data available in different formats.
Right. So did you have something more that you wanted to add to the presentation, or?
No, I just thought I would share some of my recent experience of actually leveraging digital data. Recently, of course, a number of people were affected by COVID, and I am one of the people that was affected by COVID too and got out of it. And it was not me, and I happened to be unlucky to actually transmit this to my aged dad who had a lot of comorbidities. Of course, it was my good friend Sam who kind of bailed me out of this tough situation at his hospital, and I found it really difficult to find a place for my dad. Uh, so basically, when we are affected by COVID, we are supposed to be in quarantine. I had a lesser or milder infection, so I was at home, which means my dad, who's in the mid 80s, had to be all alone, right? And we couldn't have any other support because there are many other people outside of the city, and it takes quite a bit of effort for them to get here. So I was at home. He was in the hospital for a couple of days in the ICU, thanks to Dr. Rajkumar and many other people who treated him very well. So he was always in touch with us, like in home, using WhatsApp, using video calling facilities. And that, can you imagine, in the Indian ecosystem, none of the family members went to the hospital to check about his well-being. He was perfectly fine. I didn't even have to go there. And he got himself healthy and got discharged and came back home all by himself, right? Thanks to the digital technologies that enabled us, that enabled my whole family. And most importantly, we were able to also check up through the app that we have about the status of his condition, the medical, uh, the medicines that were administered on him, and what are his results related to different blood chemistry and other parameters that were taken. And this goes to the family members who's either in the US, UK, or any part of the world in real time to see and kind of get themselves comforted that everything is in safe hands. So I've leveraged digital technology quite a bit. And I just thought I wanted to share this. I was telling Sam that I must share this somewhere. I think this is a good medium for me to say that I have been one of the users of digital technology.
And it's amazing, isn't it, Anand, when Dr. Rajkumar speaks about how Health Sensei has not only helped the patients, but also kind of gives him a sense of comfort and also makes him understand that he's in better control. But the question that I would ask you is, when you have so much data coming in, and when we look at connected care in the larger picture, it's like drinking from a fire hose, isn't it? How are we going to manage all the huge amounts of data? And what do you think we need to be doing as organization? What do you think they need to be doing?
Correct. This is a tsunami of data that I like to always cite. A lot of data is available, right? And sometimes patients are also quite apprehensive about it, like I just said, right? Round the clock, we are getting monitored. And even without our knowledge related to health, right? If you have on Android phones, perhaps with Google Maps, you know exactly where your location is. If your location is on the phone, you exactly know where you are. So the data of all of us is captured digitally, and it's available for any agencies, law enforcement, whatever it is associated with it. So how do we use it in positive way within the healthcare system, right? We heard somebody talking about machine learning. We heard many people talking about AI, right? So a lot of good and important analytics tools have actually come up to address a lot of these solutions. So all of these data will have to be aggregated, will have to be very well read, and then machines are actually given the knowledge to figure out what is it that they need to recommend, because Dr. Devi Shetty also said that we need to kind of first figure out what the doctor says and then what the AI platform says related to a particular solution. So in one way, having a lot of data is good for us to come up with easier, quicker diagnosis related to every problem. And then we could quickly go to that particular option that it throws to treat a particular person for a particular disorder that he may have, leading the way for precision care and personalized medication. So that's where I see the trend going related to all of this data.
Yes, so we've got precision care, personalized medication, and more importantly, hope, messages of hope, which is what we all want to hear. And this is a huge topic from the consumer point of view to try and get everything across in a short time. But I think we managed to get quite a nice snapshot from you, Anand, about the trends, and from you, Dr. Rajkumar, about what exactly is happening from a clinician's point of view. And of course, I'll always want to harp on about how it's so important to cling on to the human connect and ensure that our healthcare professionals are given the care and support they need in order to provide the kind of quality of service that we expect from them. So that's all I had to add. And Sam, over to you. I believe we're very close to the end of this.
Thanks a lot, Anu, Anand.